All right, let's talk about mastering the code, specifically the ICD-10 CM codes for substance use. It's kind of like learning a new language, one that's incredibly precise and turns messy clinical details into a clear universal code. And you know, getting this right is absolutely crucial, now more than ever, especially with AI starting to get into the coding game.
So it really begs the question, right? How in the world do you teach a machine something as complex as clinical nuance? Well, it turns out the answer is, you build a system with rules so clear, so rock solid, that they can be followed perfectly every single time. And that, right there, is the entire philosophy behind ICD-10-CM. It's what makes it so powerful, not just for us humans, but for the algorithms too.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by decoding the basic structure. Then we'll walk through the three main steps: classifying the substance, adding clinical details, and linking related conditions. And finally, we'll get into some of the tricky nuances and exceptions. Let's jump in.
All right, first up, decoding these codes. We've got to start with the absolute foundation.
So the most important principle, the one you can't forget, is actually pretty simple. You always identify the substance first. Every single code we're talking about starts by pinpointing the specific class of drug. Think of it as rule number 1. It's the mandatory first step.
Which brings us right to step 1, classifying the substance. And to do that, we use what are called the foundational F codes. These are literally the building blocks for everything else.
And here they are. This table lays out all the main categories, or buckets, if you will. So if you're dealing with an opioid-related issue, you're starting in the F11 category. Cocaine, you're looking at F14. Nicotine, F17. It's that straightforward. This isn't just a helpful list, it's the absolute, non-negotiable starting point for any of these codes.
Okay, so once you've picked your foundational F code, it's time for step 2. This is where we start adding all of that rich clinical detail that takes us from a general category to a really specific diagnosis.
And this is how it works. You're literally building a story with numbers. See, the fourth character in the code specifies the pattern of use. Are we talking about what the system calls abuse, or is it dependence? Then you get to the fifth and sixth characters, and they drill down even further into complications. Is the patient going through withdrawal? Is there a mood disorder that's been induced? See? Each new digit adds another critical layer to the clinical picture.
So let's just zoom in on one of those complications for a second. Withdrawal. This isn't just some vague term for feeling bad. In the world of ICD-10, it's defined very specifically as a group of symptoms that pop up when someone stops or cuts back on a substance. We're talking about clear clinical signs like agitation, trouble sleeping, even seizures. And because it's so clearly defined, it gets a specific code.
All right, on to step 3. This is where the system gets really smart and, frankly, super efficient. We're talking about linking the main disorder directly to any conditions it caused, all thanks to something called combination codes.
I mean, just check out these examples. A single code like F10.251 tells you the whole story. We've got alcohol dependence that's led to a psychotic disorder with hallucinations. Or look at F11.250, that's heroin dependence with psychosis and delusions. It's pretty amazing, right? All of that clinical detail, all that context, is packed into one single powerful code. That's the real elegance of this system.
Okay, so we've got the basics down. But of course, like any system, the devil is in the details. So now we're going to get into some of the important nuances and exceptions, the stuff you've really got to pay attention to. So what if the documentation isn't perfect? You know, what happens when it's clear a substance is involved, but the doctor didn't specify which one? Well, the system has a plan for that. That's where category F19 comes in. It's basically the catch-all code for other or unspecified psychoactive substance-related disorders.
Okay, now this next one is a really critical nuance, how to code for something in remission. And listen up, because it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. If the original substance use disorder was documented as mild, you have to code it as abuse in remission. But if it was moderate or severe, it gets coded as dependence in remission. The key takeaway here is that the original severity follows the patient's record, and it dictates the code you use today. It's all about accurately telling the patient's full story.
And really, this quote says it all. No matter how logical, how rule-based, how algorithmic this system gets, everything, and I mean everything, hinges on the provider's clinical judgment. The entire coding process, whether it's a person doing it or an AI, is only as good as the documentation it's working from. The code is just a reflection of that original clinical decision.
So, if you remember just 2 things from all of this, let it be these. First, the logic of the system.
Classify the substance, then layer on the details. And second, the absolute, undeniable importance of the provider's documentation. That documentation is the source of truth. It's what drives every single code.
And that brings us to a final, pretty big question to think about. As AI gets smarter and starts to automate more of this rule-based coding, what happens to the human expert? What is our primary role then? Is it auditing the AI? Is it focusing solely on that initial clinical documentation to make sure it's perfect? Or is it something else we haven't even thought of yet? It's a fascinating thing to consider. Thanks for joining me.